Is there a Mr. Moore here? Mr. Moore? Is there a Mr. Moore here? There's a gal upstairs yelling for more. And isn't that a terrible joke? Welcome, folks. Very handsome man. Is that your husband, ma'am? How long have you been married? 27 years. You don't say may I anymore, do you? Any kids? Help me? Very good. A poem in your honor, sir. She offered her honor, he honored her offer, and all night long it was honor and offer. I like that. Not a terrible poem. I notice, sir, you're wearing a wedding band. Does that signify that you are a henpecked person? I've got a friend of mine so henpecked he's afraid to tell his pregnant wife that he's sterile. One guy walked into the doctor's office and he said, I have a sore elbow. And the nurse said, well, the doctor's kind of busy right now. In the meantime, could you give us a specimen? He said, specimen? There's nothing wrong with my stomach, bladder, or kidney. It's my damn elbow that hurts. What's with the specimen? She said, we have rules. He said, well, I'll be back tomorrow and bring you the darn old specimen. He's a little angry about it. He gets home, starts to brood, decides to get his revenge. He gets himself a big jug, has his dog do a little job in there, his daughter, his wife, and he himself. And he brings in the mixture the next day. An hour later, the nurse comes out of the lab. She says, sir, the doctor wants me to tell you that your dog has rabies, your daughter's pregnant, your wife is going through the change of life, and if you don't quit playing with yourself, you're going to have a sore elbow. I love that joke. Gee, this one gal ran into the doctor's office. She was built real good, you know, where a girl should be built real good. And he took one look and he said, oh, I have to examine you. And he started feeling her up above here a little bit, and he said, you know what I'm doing? She said, yeah, you're testing me for cancer. He said, that's right. Started feeling her tummy. He said, you know what I'm doing now? She said, yeah, you're testing me for appendix. He said, that's right. Got her up on the couch, started making love to her. He said, you know what I'm doing now? She said, yeah, you're getting gonorrhea. That's what I came here to talk to you about. I used to date a gal in this town. She was a Midwest distributor of every disease in the world. And I was her test pilot. I had to get away from her. Ran away to Alaska, made love to an Eskimo gal up there. They kissed by rubbing noses. What do you think I got from her? Syphilis. But those Eskimo gals, they're good to their kids. I heard one of them say, don't eat the yellow snow. We have a lot of unusual incidents happen right here. We had an elderly gentleman who was entertaining a very young, beautiful lady, young girl. She was kind of a swinger, but in his own way, he was a swinger too. Old man, young girl. But in spite of the great difference of their ages, they were having a marvelous time, ordering all the goodies off the menu, and he's nibbling on her ear, and she likes it, giggling, enjoying. There were two young punks sitting in a corner. One says, Charlie, look at the old geezer there, swinging with that young, gorgeous chick. We haven't made out at all. That old cocker's doing great. Let's go over. We'll get him in conversation. We'll get him drunk, and we'll steal the girl. He said, capital idea. So they march over. One leans over and says, pardon me, sir. You seem to be a very distinguished-looking gentleman. My friend and I have been debating as to whether you are a retired doctor, lawyer, or banker. The old fellow looked up, and he said, Sonny, I happen to be a retired taxidermist. And the young chick that I'm stuffing here this evening, I will mount myself. I must tell you a joke that one of our customers gave me, and it has a little vulgarity in it, but it's such a cute joke, I think you'll find it inoffensive. It's an unusual punchline. This little gentleman, he's a little Jewish gentleman who was leaving Israel on this flight. And he's very joyful, he's very happy. He's thrilled with his visit to Israel. And the plane takes off, and he turns to the gentleman sitting next to him, and he said, hey, mister, you wouldn't believe who I met in Israel. I met Moshe Dayan, the head of the Israeli army. What do you think of that? The guy turns around, he says, screw Moshe Dayan. Well, he's so happy he doesn't pay any attention to this big guy. Turns to him a few moments later and says, and you know who else I met? I met the Prime Minister, Madame Golda Meir. What do you think of that? The guy turns around, he says, "Screw Madam Goldemeyer." By this time, the little guy's angry. He doesn't talk to the guy the rest of the trip. Now the plane is about to land in New York. He finally taps the guy on the shoulder. He said, "Hey, mister, what nationality are you?" He said, "I happen to be Irish." He said, "Screw Ella Fitzgerald." Isn't that a ridiculous punchline to it? I go to Omaha, Nebraska a lot. Love the town. Good town. People think it's kind of a square place, but actually it's a very popular, swinging little town. Not little. And many people don't know that's where they discovered artificial insemination for cattle. Phony poontang for animals. This one guy called up the ringy-dingy poon company, said, "I want my cows serviced." I mean, straightened out. That's cattle talk. He said, "I won't be here, but my wife Zelda should tell you which cow has to be bred. We have several." Then he hangs up and he turns to his bride of many years. He said, "Dummy, pay attention." He says, "You're always goofing up. Bossy has to be bred tomorrow. So you'll remember which one is Bossy. I'll hammer this big spike nail in her stall. Then you'll remember that one is Bossy." She said, "All right." The next day, the guy from the ringy-dingy poon company comes over. He says, "Which cow has to be bred?" She said, "That one over there." He said, "What's that big spike nail sticking out of the stall for?" She said, "I guess that's where you hang your pants." We were talking about Las Vegas, too. Now, everything is naked in Las Vegas, really. They expect it. A lot of nudity. In fact, they have one show where the ladies skate around naked. Ice skates, nothing else. But it's done very tastefully. They're beautiful ladies. They have lovely music and beautiful lighting, and they're very graceful, and they skate around. Kind of loses something when they start leaping over them barrels. But they lost 2 barrels the show I saw. They've got some old broads in that show, I'll tell you, you wouldn't believe. My biggest pleasure, I entertained at the Caesar's Palace, and that was a great thrill for me. But in addition to that, my greatest pleasure was visiting old friends of mine in show business. Some of them are stars. Most of them are. Made it really big. Myron Cohn is a very wonderful man, and he's always good for a very big laugh. He did a joke that I'd like to tell you. Story about a Jewish couple fighting and arguing. And finally she said to him, "What would you say if I told you I've been sleeping with your oldest and dearest friend?" And the husband said, "I would say you was a lesbian." Shecky Green. Shecky Green was one of the greatest comics in Las Vegas. He talks irreverently about many people and gets great screams with it. He said one person he couldn't picture having sex was Ed Sullivan. Then he does an impression of Ed Sullivan asking his wife that night. "Now, Sylvia, it's a really big one." Joey Bishop is a very dear friend, and he told a story that I like very much about the elderly gentleman who was having a birthday, and his 3 sons came to visit him. They evidently forgot that it was his birthday, and he said, "Well, boys, what did you bring your father?" And one of them said, "Gee, Pop, I forgot all about it." The second said, "Gee, Dad, I forgot too." And the third one said, "It kind of slipped my mind." He said, "Well, that's all right, boys. Forgetfulness kind of runs in our family. I forgot to marry your mother." And one of them says, "You mean where?" He said, "Yeah, and cheap ones, too." I must tell you, we fellas are certainly glad that you gals are using those birth control pills. Saves us fellas a lot of worry and a lot of, right? Sure. A lot of problems. Every time we thought we were going to make out, we'd have to run to the drugstore, get a box of goodies. For years, I didn't know a Trojan was a warrior. You know, it was a very embarrassing experience. You'd walk in and there's some old gal behind the counter. You were too ashamed to ask, you know. So you'd buy Kleenex, toothpaste, shoe polish that you already had, stalling around. Finally, the old guy shows up, and he's hard of hearing. You know, you got to yell it out. "Hey, pal, I need a box of goodies." Well, this joke took place in those days. This fellow's taking a sweetie pie on one of those boat trips, a pleasure cruise. And he said, gee, honey, I forgot to get the box of goodies or we can't have any fun on this trip. She says, well, as long as you're going anyway, get me a box of Dramamine tablets. I get seasick on these trips once in a while. So he runs into the drugstore, winks at the druggist, and I want a box of goodies and also a box of Dramamine tablets. And the druggist said, for God's sake, if it makes you sick, why do you do it? I'm a little nervous tonight. I was driving on the highway, the cops pulled me over. He said, hey, dum-dum, get over there. I said, I wasn't speeding. I said, no, your wife fell out of the car 8 miles back. I said, oh, thank God, I thought I was going deaf. Well, they threw her back in the car and arrested me for littering. I didn't like that too much. Many entertainers never mention the fact that they're married because they want to swing with the wild chicks that hang around the bars. Is that not true? But I'm an honest man, and I'll tell you the truth. I'm a married man. Have a lovely wife and a beautiful daughter, but I cheat. If there's anything around, I'll go. That doesn't make me a bad person. You know, you get married, you become a member of the once-a-month club. Who needs that, you know? My wife owes me for October, November, December. Never get even. But my wife's okay. You ask anybody. She looks like the closest thing to Jacqueline Kennedy. She looks like Onassis. What a weird thought. Jackie can see her own asses. I never thought of that. Oh, I ran into Charlie and Martha the other day. I said, I haven't seen you over at the Ramada Inn lately. And he said, we found the new place to go bumming. I said, where's that? And he said, the Unique Bar. I said, what's so unique about the Unique Bar? He said, when you go there, you get a drink, you get a receipt. And if your receipt has a little star on it, you go in the back room and get a little free ringy-dingy poontang. I said, gee, Charlie, how many times have you won? He said, I haven't won at all, but Martha's won 14 times. Let's hear it for Martha. How bold can you get? You have beautiful legs, ma'am. A very beautiful girl. She makes my wife look like a boy, that one. I had a girlfriend who had so little up above here, right here, you know, that she had so much rubber in her bra, it erased what she originally had. You know. It's going pretty bad. You know. I've been up here quite some time, and you notice, ladies and gentlemen, I have not told any Polish jokes. And there's a reason for that. I have a lot of friends in show business. They do a solid hour of Polish jokes degrading one group of people. I don't think that's nice or fair. In fact, the Polish people right here in Missouri are rebelling against this type of humor. And right now they're marching on Washington. I understand they're as far as Denver already. Then there's the one about the Polish kidnapper who sent the kid back with the ransom note. And the kid's parents were Polish, so they sent him back with the money. Then, of course, the one about the Polish fellow whose wife gave birth to triplets. He's out looking for the other two guys. She's beautiful. You're not going to make out, though. Look at that hairdo. Every curl in place. They blow $8 in a hairdo. That head will not hit a pillow for days, I'll tell you that. And don't drink too much. Martinis are like women's breasts. One's not enough and 3 are too many, so be careful, you know. You look nice. Where are you from? Where are you folks from? Festus? It sounds like a disease, Festus, you know. Look what happened to my finger. It's Festus, you know. No, you can't help it? Looks like a ball game. The bags are loaded, I'll tell you. All right, we'll do it for you. You're very sweet, honey. Love you. I like people when they answer you back. That's a new kind of show business. In the old days, people would just sit there and take all the abuse from the entertainer and blush, and we'd have a good laugh at their expense. Nowadays, they watch TV, memorize all the lines, and they're ready for you. One little guy crawled up on a stage. I said, what do you want? He said, I want to make a speech. I said, what do you want to talk about? He said, sex. I said, okay. So he stood up and he said, it gives me great pleasure. And he sat down. I ran into one guy out in front of this place and he had one glove on. I said, oh, you lost a glove. He said, no, I found one. Kind of a goofy guy. I think ladies are like continents of the world. From 18 to 24, they're like Africa, hot, torrid, and mysterious. 24 to 34, they're like America, streamlined, cooperative, and willing. 34 to 44, they're like Europe, devastated, but still good. After that, they're like Australia. Everybody knows where it's at, but nobody goes down there. Yeah, see the old gals getting mad at me here tonight. I'm only kidding. I like a gal over 50. They don't yell, they don't tell, they don't swell, and they're grateful as hell. And that's right. Take the best you can get. What a laugh he's got, huh? You're marvelous, pal. A lot of people can't laugh like that. I know a lot of people see movies and see comedians and read funny books, and they never laugh. Well, I had a friend of mine like that. And he got sick, and they cut him open. You know what they found? Ha ha. He was a sick man, I'll tell you that. Like to do, we'll do Cherry Blossom Lane. Do you like that song, honey? All right, that was on my first album. It looks like rain in Cherry Blossom Lane. In Cherry Blossom Lane, it looks like rain. It looks like rain in Cherry Blossom Lane. In Cherry Blossom Lane, it looks like rain. It looks like rain in Cherry Blossom Lane. In Cherry Blossom Lane, it looks like rain. It looks like rain in Cherry Blossom Lane. In Cherry Blossom Lane, it looks like rain. It looks like rain in Cherry Blossom Lane. In Cherry Blossom Lane, it looks like rain. It looks like rain in Cherry Blossom Lane. In Cherry Blossom Lane, it looks like rain. It looks like rain in Cherry Blossom Lane. In Cherry Blossom Lane, it looks like rain. It looks like rain in Cherry Blossom Lane. In Cherry Blossom Lane, it looks like rain. One more time. It looks like rain in Cherry Blossom Lane. In Cherry Blossom Lane, it looks like rain. It looks like rain in Cherry Blossom Lane. In Cherry Blossom Lane, it looks like rain. It looks like rain in Cherry Blossom Lane. In Cherry Blossom Lane, it looks like rain. It looks like rain in Cherry Blossom Lane. In Cherry Blossom Lane, it looks like rain.